Hi. This is Stephanie from Our Natural Wisdom. So good to have you here with me today for another one of my weekly Instagram lives all about reclaiming your peace through Mother Earth. And I am an eco-intuitive coach. Hi, Kay. So good to see you. Thanks for joining at the new time. Some things shifted in the schedule, so needed to move things back to 3:30 on Mondays. So thanks everybody for your understanding and for joining in. Hello, thanks for joining. So I am an eco-intuitive coach and teacher, and I support women who are struggling with anxiety and maybe some perfectionism. And I love to help you reclaim your peace by calling forth all of the support that you can receive from Mother Earth. There is so much to be received from nature, from your gardens, from the animals, from the plants, from everything around you in nature. And that is really the focus of my teaching, my work, is to connect you more deeply with your deep wisdom, which comes forward when you are connected with Mother Earth. So good to be here with you. And this week I have been guided to talk about discernment, and specifically learning and practicing how to discern your soul's language from your ego's language. And this is so important. This is something that, gosh, I wish that we all learned when we were kids, because we have so many voices in our heads, right? So many thoughts that we experience in a typical day, tens of thousands of thoughts. The number 40,000 comes to my mind for some reason. I think that I read that somewhere, that we have upwards of 40,000 thoughts per day, maybe more, who knows? But it can be a challenge to discern what is coming from your soul, from your deep wisdom, from your heart, from our ego. And when I say our ego, I'm talking about mostly our wonderful brains, our brains that are always looking to protect us, our brains that are, concerned about safety and about comfort and about not stretching ourselves. And it can cause a lot of contraction when we listen to our brains, to our, as many teachers call it, our lizard brain or our primitive brain, the thoughts that we have that come forward based in protection and avoiding anything scary, any discomfort at all. You could also think of it as the difference between listening to your intuition and listening to your instinct, which is also a primal kind of guidance, right? And there are times when it's great to listen to our instinct and it's great to listen to our ego speaking, but really what I am here to teach is cultivating your ability to hear your soul's language, which is your intuition. You were born with it. We were all born with it. And connecting more deeply with Mother Earth is such a naturally beautiful way to connect with your soul and hear your soul's language. So one of the things that I just wanted to note is that I've been in a funk for the last couple of weeks. I've just been in a crummy place mentally, and it's been lingering for longer than I would like. And so I'm just in a little bit of a funk, and it happens to all of us. And as I've been in that funky place, I've realized how important it is to listen to the thoughts that I am having, to listen to how I am thinking, because our thoughts determine our feelings, and our feelings determine what actions we take in the world, and those actions determine the results. So everything begins with our thinking, with our thoughts about our circumstances. So as I have been really leaning into my soul's guidance, and the divine, and all things light and good in the world, I have really been listening more to my thoughts than I typically do, observing them, not listening to them in a way of trying to learn from them or to really analyze them and go into why am I thinking this, but more just being present with how my thoughts proceed through a typical moment. Like last week, my son, who is mildly autistic, went to summer camp, and it was just for the morning. It was a big deal for him. He's 5, so summer camp's a big deal for for any 5-year-old. He did well at the beginning of the week, and then he really struggled, had a very rough day, and that circumstance, which just happened, it was not something that I could control or have any bearing on because I wasn't even there. That circumstance caused me to have a number of thoughts that just went from oh my gosh, he's not ready, to what are we going to do for kindergarten? I'm just, how is this going to work? To I'm not doing enough for my son. That we really started to live in that place, right? Because moms tend to do that, feeling that mom guilt, putting that pressure on ourselves. I'm not doing enough for him. I'm a bad mom, and then it just like spirals into, my brain started thinking of coming up with evidence for why I'm a bad mom, right? That is the kind of stuff that our ego does. Our ego is looking for a lot of extremes. We hear our ego speak to us with extreme language. Things are very black and white. You will hear, when your ego speaks to you, you will hear it talk in a lot of never or always, or I can't do this, or I should do this. A lot of should language comes forth when we're listening to our ego, and also a lot of why. Why is this happening? Why do I feel this way? And what do I need to do? And what did I do wrong? And we can really spiral ourselves into those places, which of course ramps up our anxiety. And it has been ramping up my anxiety in the past couple of weeks. Thinking about the future, worrying about that, projecting things out, and really realizing that the more that we live in that place of the why and the ego's language, the less we are present, the less we are experiencing the present moment and allowing ourselves to accept what is happening and find peace within the present. And when I say that, I mean just the little things that can bring us peace within the present moment. Anything from enjoying a nice cold drink of water on a hot day, to taking a walk in the park, to observing the clouds, looking at flowers, observing, bees, or anything that is within nature, is always such a beautiful way to ground yourself and to bring yourself back to the present, where your soul's language is so much more accessible, where your intuition is so much more accessible, because it lives in the present moment and always inviting you back to the present. So when we listen more deeply to what is within the present moment and allow our senses to experience what is happening within the present moment, we can open ourselves up, we open our hearts and our minds up to a more expansive language, and that is the language of your soul. The ego's language really creates a lot of contraction within us. It really makes us, get kind of tight and maybe smaller and just feel like, like protective and fearful, and, causes anxiety. And, I have to say that it has a lot of impact on our physical body too. I mean, I can just feel it in my shoulders, and I've been tensing my shoulders and my neck and all of these things. So there's a very real set of impacts that listening too much to our ego's language can affect us, not only mentally and emotionally, but also physically, and of course spiritually and energetically. So the more that we can come within the present moment and experience with our senses what is happening right now, especially anything to do with nature, any way of connecting with Mother Earth, even from looking out your window. You don't have to literally be outside to do this. Just allowing yourself in a given moment to experience the presence of Mother Earth opens you up, allows you can literally feel your physical body relaxing. It just lets things release and let go and opens you up to hear your intuitive guidance, to hear your loving and compassionate language of your soul. So when you are hearing the thoughts that your ego is suggesting that you listen to and act upon, don't focus on pushing that away, because those thoughts we just need to allow them to be, right? So it's not about resisting them. It's kind of like following the breadcrumbs, right? Following the breadcrumbs, allowing yourself to hear what is happening from your ego structure, and to send yourself so much compassion for having those thoughts, because there is a reason why you're having those thoughts, but you don't need to investigate it. You don't need to overanalyze it. You can just let them be. You can let them be. And your intuitive guidance, which is quieter, more subtle, that inner voice always speaks to you with love and compassion and understanding, and with beautiful guidance. Your intuitive guidance is going to focus less on the why or the why not, and so much more on the how. How are you going to get through this time? How are you going to feel better? How are you going to have more peace within your life? And that is within the present moment. And always remembering to come back to the peace through your senses within the present moment. The whole topic of discernment really came forward today and yesterday when I was spending some time in our garden and noticed my husband actually saw something on our bee balm, on our Monarda. And he's like, oh my gosh, look at this. It's like the tiniest hummingbird I've ever seen. And I looked at it and I'm like, that's not a hummingbird, that's a hummingbird moth. And I don't know if you've ever seen one of these. They're so cool. They're smaller than a hummingbird, but much bigger than a typical moth. And they very closely resemble a hummingbird, thus their name. They are a moth, but they live within the daytime. So a lot of people mistake them for a bird when in fact they are an insect. They're a moth. And they love Monarda, by the way. They love bee balm. I have some behind me, and I was wondering if somebody was going to stop by during the live here. But I feel like that hummingbird moth was offering us guidance on discernment, and how the more you know about yourself, the more you allow yourself to be aware of your thinking, the more discernment you can have. You can discern between your ego's thoughts and your soul's guidance. So the hummingbird moth, are welcoming you to allow yourself to experience that discernment, to practice the discernment. It does take practice. But it is such an important part of learning about yourself, of being able to tap into that compassion when you hear the kinds of thoughts that are coming forward from your ego structure, and you're hearing them with clarity, you can very easily see, oh my gosh, these are the thoughts that I'm having within my head unintentionally, without love, without compassion. So when you hear those thoughts and become very sober to the thoughts that you're having, send yourself that compassion. Understand that this is very normal, it's very natural. Our ego is leading us to have these thoughts, but you can always choose that discernment. You can always choose to welcome your soul's guidance and to allow your ego's thoughts to just pass you right by. So I just welcome you to take some nice deep breaths in this moment and take in all of the learning that was provided in this teaching. Take in the guidance, the gentle and loving guidance that Hummingbird Moth offered us today, that Mother Earth and that your beautiful soul is offering you in this moment. And breathing in that knowledge that you have the ability to discern between your soul's language and your ego's language. And that the more you connect with your soul's language, the more you choose to be peacefully connected in the moment through your senses in partnership with Mother Earth, the easier it is to access your beautiful intuition, and the easier it is to move through those funks that we all experience, that we all have, so that you can be fully present and receive the peace and love and support and compassion of your soul. So I thank you so much for joining me this week. I welcome you to consider applying for a free breakthrough session with me. I have all of the details if you click the link in bio. It would be such a joy to support you in your journey and to help you work through any anxiety, perfectionism that you are experiencing. I guarantee you Mother Earth is providing you such amazing support, and your soul is right there as well, ready to help you in every moment. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again next week, Monday at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. Have a beautiful week, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.